Now, I remember reading a book, Timothy Clark, Four Stages of Psychological Safety, and I've seen you pop that up quite a bit on LinkedIn as well. So, how do those concepts around just psychological safety in general, how do those concepts apply to teams from what you've seen, especially in the human capital, human resources side, when they're working with AI tools?
Yeah, so to build that trust, the psychological safety is one of the most important factors to build trust. So you're not going to have a successful team of humans working together effectively if they don't have trust of some sort, right? That's just a given. And psychological safety, the inclusive part, is really one of the key things. Well, when it comes to human AI teams, AI doesn't care about psychological safety. It doesn't care if you include it or not. Right? It doesn't care. It's a blinking cursor sitting there waiting, right? So, but we got to get people past it because they think, well, how does it feel safe with me and I feel safe with it? But we don't. What you got to do is you got to understand what it can and can't do. And that's one of the bigger things in my mind. What the psychological safety comes in with AI is truly understanding what it's capable of and what it's not. Most AIs can't do math today. So don't try to don't get frustrated when they can't do math well. Just move beyond, find other ways to do math and let them do their thing. So yeah, the trust building, the human connection, building connections and having dinners and lunches and conferences. We all know those extra times you spend outside of the office is when you really connect and get to know people. That doesn't AI doesn't care about that either. It doesn't care if you didn't follow through on a commitment. If you don't follow through on commitments more often or not, people are going to lose trust in you. AI doesn't care about that. So again, it's back to understanding it. And as you mentioned, the speaking the language part, we came across a very interesting as we started to think about how to talk about this, how to describe this. I learned Spanish as a minor in my college
Oh, I love it.
undergraduate. And so I learned, I used to go from 400 level math classes to a 400 level Spanish class. In Spanish, where we're speaking Spanish poetry, we're speaking it, writing it. I don't know how my mind flipped back and forth between those worlds, but I couldn't do it today. But luckily, I did it when I was younger. But so we started looking at what does it mean to communicate with AI? And we actually say it's like learning a language. And we have a whole chart that shows what it's like to learn a human language. You've got to learn the words, vocabulary, the grammar, you get into culture, and then you get into the dialects. Well, AI has a very specific way of language that you use. It has a very specific grammar. I'm a big proponent of structured versus verbose prompts. I think structured prompts work a lot better than just writing your content.
Right.
The culture is the biases and the programming built into every LLM. They all have it. So you just have to understand it. And then finally, the dialect, that they all have their way of processing and outputting. And, for those of us that spend a time across all the different engines and we see how
I
they're
was
all
just gonna
doing,
say that.
yeah, they all have a certain dialect. In fact, I had a guy on LinkedIn, a very good friend of mine, who tried something different. He's very popular. He's got a lot of followers. He tried something on LinkedIn, and I sent him a DM and said, "Hey, I see you're using a little AI for your thing." He goes, "Yeah, I figured you'd see it." And then I said, "What's more interesting is that you're using Claude's 3.5 Sonnet."
So
Next thing I know, my
you
phone's
can
ringing.
identify it. I love
And
it.
he's calling me and said, "How in the world did you know that I was using Claude?" I said, "Because it has a very specific way of putting words together and phrases. And I
Right.
can see a few of those in there." Now, he had changed a bunch, but I could still see it. And he's like, "Holy cow." I said, "Yeah, it's like learning a language. It had its dialect." So, when people start to understand that, they feel more comfortable. And then they're like, okay, now I know what it's like to deal with these things. And that's what I'm after. I'm after that, building that comfort level.
So good. Comfort level, and then also understanding, not necessarily, no one needs to have the ultra tech skills on how these things work on the back end and how to build them, right? That's not the majority of people. And specifically in the HR world, is how to use these things to communicate better, right? So that we're creating a great team member experience in our clear communication, recognition, right? Or accountability conversations, right? Performance management process, all those little things there.